Imagine sitting beside someone every day, someone who smiles at you, talks with you, shares time with you, but still hides a part of their heart that you'll never see. Imagine how much is left unsaid, how many thoughts are carried silently, how many truths are buried under a quiet nod and a soft smile. She may be beside you, but her silence speaks a language you've never been taught. Have you ever wondered what women think but never tell men? Have you noticed how they often say, "I'm fine," when something deeper is happening inside? Do you truly know what they hide, not because they want to deceive, but because they want to protect something sacred? Take a moment. Think of someone close to you, a sister, a friend, a partner. Now ask yourself, what haven't they told you? What have they chosen to carry quietly, even when you were near? This is Wisdom Writings, and today we walk into the hidden spaces of a woman's heart, guided by the gentle light of Buddhist wisdom. If you've ever wanted to truly understand, not just hear, to truly connect, not just talk, then this journey is for you. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a single drop of this truth. Your support helps us bring more unseen wisdom to light. Please drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective could open someone else's heart. And if you're with us on this deep and mindful path, comment Namo Buddhi below to stay in a peaceful and grounded state as we walk through this video together. Let's begin. There's a fear in the heart of a woman that does not scream. It breathes. It hides behind her quiet nod, her polite smile, and the way she says it's fine when it is not. This fear is not born of weakness, but of deep knowing. She does not always tell a man what haunts her, not because she wants distance, but because she is afraid he will not understand. Or worse, that he will dismiss what feels sacred to her. Many women carry this fear like a delicate thread wrapped around their voice. They do not speak of the times they felt invisible in a room full of noise. They do not reveal how their strength is often misunderstood as coldness, and their softness mistaken for fragility. A woman hides this not because she lacks courage, but because she has lived long enough to know that not every listener is ready for the truth. She fears being judged for her emotions, even when those emotions come from a place of love, of protection, of deep care. Buddhism teaches that speech must be truthful, gentle, and purposeful. And so, when a woman chooses not to speak, it is often not because she lies, but because she wants to avoid harm. She chooses silence to maintain peace, to preserve what is delicate between two hearts. Imagine how many times she has wanted to say, "I am afraid you don't see me," or "I wish you would ask, not assume." But the world has often told her that to speak of fears is to appear needy. And so she guards these truths like seeds waiting for the right season to bloom. She doesn't want pity. She wants presence. She wants to be heard without having to scream. Sometimes, even when a man asks, "What's wrong?" she may hesitate, because she fears that her answer will be called drama or overthinking. This fear is carved from years of small dismissals and large silences, and it is not easily erased. She may not even fully understand why she holds back, but her body remembers. Her heart remembers. There are fears she will never explain, like the fear of being too much or not enough at the same time, the fear of being replaced, the fear of being too strong to be held or too tender to be trusted. And yet, all of this lives inside her like a quiet river, still flowing, still moving, but never crashing through the surface. A man may wonder, why does she not just say it? Why does she carry her storm alone? But sometimes she has tried, and the response was silence, a shrug, or advice when all she wanted was to be held in understanding. She learned that not every ear is a sanctuary, and so she became her own. In Buddhism, it is taught that fear arises from attachment. And while this is true, one must understand that some attachments are not to things, but to peace, to safety. A woman's silence is sometimes her way of holding on to harmony, of not disturbing the balance. She does not want war in a space that was meant to be safe. She fears being seen as weak for admitting that she, too, needs to be heard. That beneath the strength and self-sufficiency lies a soul that longs for someone to stay. She will not always say it, but it lives in her actions, in the way she listens more than she speaks, in the way she supports more than she receives. Her hidden fear is also her wisdom. She knows that some truths lose their beauty when spoken in the wrong moment. She knows that trust is not just about honesty, but timing, readiness, and tenderness. And so she waits, she watches, and she chooses silence, hoping that one day she will not have to choose at all. Even when she laughs, there might be a fear dancing behind her eyes. The fear that if she becomes too vulnerable, she will be misunderstood. And so, she learns to carry her own weight. Not because she wants to, but because it feels safer than risking the fall. There are times she almost speaks, but then she remembers the last time her honesty was met with discomfort, or worse, indifference. And she swallows her truth like medicine with no water. Quiet, bitter, necessary. The Buddha once said, "Better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace." Perhaps that is what she waits for, not just the chance to speak, but the moment when her words will be safe, when they will not be bent, ignored, or feared, when it will not be used against her. Many men do not see this fear. They mistake it for moodiness or mystery. But it is neither. It is protection. It is history. It is a heart that has loved too much without always being seen in return. And if a man ever truly listened, not just with his ears, but with his heart, he might hear what she never said. The echoes of all the times she needed him to see her struggle, her doubt, her silent prayers. She wanted him to look past the surface and hold the pieces she hid. This fear is not the absence of love. It is its protector. She fears sharing everything, not because she wants to hide, but because she fears losing the little she is given. She has learned that not every truth is rewarded with kindness. But this fear can be softened, not by asking what's wrong, but by showing I am here, not by pushing for answers, but by creating safety for silence. A woman will speak what she fears only when she knows it will not be used as a weapon. And until then, she will remain quiet, gentle, guarded, not because she does not trust, but because she knows too well what it means to speak and not be heard. She carries this hidden fear with grace. And in that silence, there is a wisdom deeper than words. She smiles, but her heart might be crying. She laughs, yet her silence could be louder than a storm. Women have a deep way of feeling. Their emotions don't always come to the surface like waves. Instead, they often flow underneath like a quiet river, strong, steady, hidden. A man may think he knows her. He may sit beside her and believe he understands. But often, he is only standing at the edge of a vast ocean, looking at the surface. The depth remains untouched, not because he is unworthy, but because she has been taught to protect her sacred space. A woman carries feelings that even words cannot carry. She holds emotions not because she wants to hide them, but because she understands the fragility of truth. Some emotions are not made for this world. They are born only to be known silently. The Buddha taught that the most delicate truths cannot always be spoken. They can only be felt. There is sorrow, yes, not always from pain given by others, but from the pain she has chosen not to return. She swallows her hurt because she believes that releasing it may cause more suffering to those around her. This is not weakness. It is the highest form of compassion. The lotus does not scream when it grows through the mud. It just blooms in silence. When a woman is in love, she may not tell the full extent of her devotion. She may fear that too much honesty would be misunderstood as neediness. She fears that her soft heart will be called too emotional, too sensitive, too much. And so, she folds parts of herself inward, like a letter written but never sent. Sometimes, she cries alone, not because there is no one to cry to, but because she believes some tears are meant only for her own strength. She cries not to feel weak, but to remember she can heal herself. These sacred emotions become her medicine, quiet, invisible, and powerful. A woman may remember small details, the words he said, the silence that followed, the way he looked away, but she may never mention them. Not because she didn't notice, but because she feels more than she wants to reveal. She fears that revealing too much will create distance instead of closeness. She observes his mood, listens between the lines, and reads the silence in his speech. She knows when he is troubled. She knows when he is distant. But she doesn't always say it. Not because she doesn't care, but because she has learned that sometimes, when you name a moment, you change it. And so, she lets it be. The Buddha once said that a wise person does not speak every truth they know. A woman, in her sacred quietness, understands this naturally. Her emotional world is not a place for everyone to walk through with muddy feet. It is a temple, and not all visitors are mindful. She may hold resentment, too, but it does not scream for revenge. It sits quietly inside her, sometimes heavy like stone. Yet she carries it with grace, hoping it will dissolve with time or be transformed by forgiveness. She waits not for apologies, but for peace. There are moments she wants to be held, but does not ask. There are nights she feels empty, but says she's just tired. This is not manipulation. This is the language of those who have been unheard too many times. This is how silence becomes a shield. And there is joy, so much joy. But even that, she may keep hidden. Not because she is selfish, but because she fears it may be taken away. Sometimes happiness kept in the open is misunderstood or envied. So, she wraps it carefully, placing it in the folds of her heart like a precious pearl. She speaks to herself more than anyone else. In her moments of stillness, she listens to her own spirit. She questions her worth, reflects on her choices, and seeks answers in silence. She becomes her own teacher, her own healer, her own guide. This is why her emotions are sacred, because they are her journey. Her forgiveness is not loud. She doesn't always declare that she has let go. But one morning, she will simply stop talking about what hurt her. That is her way. She does not burn the past in fire. She buries it under compassion and keeps walking. There are words she wished she had said. There are truths she swallowed when she should have spoken. But she forgives herself for that too, because she knows the path of wisdom is not built on perfection. It is built on self-understanding. When she listens, she does not interrupt. She doesn't always offer advice. Her presence becomes her response. In her silence, there is space. In her stillness, there is power. She listens not just with her ears, but with her heart. Even when she is misunderstood, she remains calm. She knows that those who truly wish to understand her will make the effort. The rest are not hers to carry. Her energy is sacred, and she spends it with care. Her love does not demand. It flows. It gives without asking for return. It may ache in its giving, but it does not regret. The Buddha spoke of selfless love, a love that liberates rather than binds. This is the love she aspires to, even when it breaks her. If a man wishes to know the heart of a woman, he must become still. He must learn to see without asking, to hear without sound, to feel without touching. Only then will he begin to enter the sacred chamber of her emotions. The greatest mistake is to assume that because she is silent, she feels nothing. In truth, her silence is often full of meaning, full of awareness, full of presence. The wise man listens to this silence and learns. And so a woman continues, holding, feeling, forgiving, loving, in ways that are rarely seen but always deeply real. Her emotions are sacred not because they are hidden, but because they are pure. She protects them, not to deceive, but to honor their depth. Her concealment is not secrecy. It is reverence. She sees more than she says. This is the quiet strength of a woman. A man may think she is not watching, that she is distracted or unaware, but she is always observing. In the silence between words, in the pauses of a conversation, in the gestures that seem too small to matter, she is paying attention. And yet, she often chooses to say nothing. A woman doesn't need to speak of everything she knows. She carries her awareness like a still pond, deep, reflective, unmoved by shallow ripples. She sees your kindness, your care, your loyalty. But she also sees your contradictions, your hesitations, your small lies. And often, she lets it go, not because she doesn't care, but because she understands more than she is willing to reveal. Her observations are not always about right or wrong. Sometimes, she simply sees the suffering behind a man's words. She sees when he is angry, not because she made a mistake, but because he feels inadequate. She notices when he is withdrawn, not because he is disinterested, but because something within him is breaking. These subtle truths are like dust in the wind, light, invisible, and everywhere. She breathes them in and holds them in her heart. In Buddhist practice, we are taught to observe without judgment, to be aware without reacting. A woman, without formal training, often embodies this naturally. Her silence is not empty. It is a spiritual act. She chooses silence over confrontation, understanding over accusation. That choice comes not from weakness, but from compassion. A woman might notice the way a man talks about other women. Not just the words, but the tone, the lingering admiration, the absent-minded comparisons. She notices, but she doesn't always respond. She knows her worth, and she knows when it is better to let him realize his mistake on his own. She does not want to teach through conflict. She wants him to awaken through awareness. She sees how he treats others, the waiter at the restaurant, the child at the temple, the elder on the street. These small gestures, often overlooked, tell her everything about his inner world. And yet, she doesn't bring it up, not because she is indifferent, but because she is wise enough to wait. She knows that character is revealed over time. Sometimes, a woman notices when a man is pretending to be strong when he is afraid, pretending to be calm when he is breaking inside. She sees through the masks, but instead of confronting him, she gently offers space. She gives him room to breathe, to drop the mask on his own. She respects the pace of healing. She watches how he responds when he fails. Does he blame others? Does he shut down? Or does he reflect and grow? She notes these patterns, not to judge, but to understand whether this is someone who can walk beside her in life's long journey. Still, she does not say what she sees. She stores it in her quiet understanding. A woman also notices when a man truly listens. Not just hears, but listens with his whole being. She sees when his eyes soften, when his presence deepens. These rare moments touch her soul, but she might not say so. Not because it doesn't matter, but because the experience is enough. She doesn't need to name it. In Buddhism, mindfulness is not just about meditating on a cushion. It's about bringing gentle awareness into every moment. A woman's life is often a practice in mindfulness. She sees what goes unnoticed. She observes the subtle. In doing so, she connects with life at a deeper level. She may notice when a man says something hurtful, not just the words, but the intention behind them. Yet instead of reacting, she considers. Was it pain speaking? Was it stress? Was it habit? She doesn't respond immediately, not because she is suppressing her voice, but because she is giving wisdom a chance to lead. Often, she observes patterns. Not once, not twice, but many times. The repeated absence of care, the frequent dismissals, the neglect, and she waits, not because she is unsure, but because she wants to be certain. She values patience. She wants to know if the silence she holds can turn into growth, or if it must become distance. She sees when a man is struggling with himself. She notices the fidgeting, the restless glances, the half-finished thoughts. She doesn't always ask what's wrong. Sometimes, she just sits with him in the stillness. That presence is her way of saying, "I see you," without forcing him to speak. There are also the beautiful things she notices but does not say, the effort he makes, the progress he doesn't think she sees, the way he tries to become better. She watches, and her heart feels it all, but she doesn't always express it. Not because she's ungrateful, but because some things are too sacred for words. A woman often sees the potential in a man long before he sees it in himself. She may encourage him, or she may stay quiet, waiting for the right moment. She understands timing. She knows that wisdom blooms only when the soil is ready. And so, she holds her insight like a lantern, unlit but ready. When a man speaks with arrogance, she hears the fear underneath. When he brags, she senses the need to be seen. When he withdraws, she sees the longing to be held. She does not always tell him what she sees. She allows him the dignity of his own journey. She notices the way he breathes when he's hiding something. She hears the pauses. She catches the shift in his gaze. Her sensitivity is not weakness, it is refined awareness. But she does not accuse or demand. She simply knows. And in that knowing, she lets time reveal what needs to be revealed. Even when a woman walks away, she does so with a heart full of observations she never shared. Not to punish, but to protect her peace. She doesn't need to list the reasons. Her silence has already spoken. In Zen, silence is a language. And women, consciously or not, often speak it fluently. The things they do not say are not lost. They are woven into the space between every word, every glance, every step. So, the next time you sit with a woman, know this. What she shares is only part of the story. The rest lives in what she observes, cherishes, forgives, and leaves unsaid. She walks through this world with a calm face, but inside her heart, there is often a quiet ache. This pain, she does not scream about. She does not write it on walls. She does not cry it out in crowds. She simply carries it. Like the wind holds the scent of a storm, she holds sorrow without making noise. There are many kinds of pain she endures. Not all are physical. In fact, most are invisible, etched in the spirit, hidden in gestures, buried in glances. The world may never know them, but the Buddhist said, pain is certain, suffering is optional. And still, she chooses not to let her suffering be known. Why? Because there is strength in silence. Not silence that comes from fear, but silence that comes from compassion. She knows her words can wound, and so she holds them back. She knows her truth might burn bridges, so she builds peace instead. But this comes at a cost. That cost is the ache she never shares. When people see her, they often think she is peaceful, soft, even serene. But only she knows the knots she has tied and untied within her soul. She forgives without being asked. She loves without being thanked. She gives without being seen. And though her heart bleeds quietly, she keeps walking softly, steadily. Sometimes, a man may wonder why she seems distant, or why she smiles less. But he does not know that perhaps she's already cried herself empty the night before. Perhaps she's been misunderstood so often that now she keeps her truth hidden like a lotus bud that refuses to bloom in harsh sunlight. She does not share her pain easily, not because she lacks trust, but because she fears her truth will be misunderstood, judged, or minimized. She has tried before, perhaps as a child, a teenager, a partner. And what met her was not understanding, but criticism. So, over time, she chose the safer path, silence. In Buddhism, we speak of right speech. But sometimes the most powerful speech is no speech at all. Her silence is not absence. It is presence, a deep, conscious presence. She watches. She reflects. She breathes in her pain and exhales understanding. And she transforms sorrow into wisdom. The world may never know the battles she fights with her own reflection. She questions herself more than anyone else does. She wonders if she is enough, if she is too much, if she is invisible or exposed. These thoughts swirl in her mind like incense smoke, soft but never still. When she walks into a room, her aura speaks louder than her lips. There's a gravity to her, as if she carries something ancient. And in truth, she does. She carries the pain of generations, of mothers, sisters, and grandmothers who were also told to be quiet, to endure, to smile. The pain of being misunderstood is one of the deepest, and this is one she knows well. A man may think she's angry when she's just tired. He may think she's distant when she's just afraid. He may think she doesn't care when she's simply overwhelmed. But she doesn't explain. She just endures. She doesn't share her pain because she doesn't want to be pitied. She wants to be seen, to be understood, but not as someone broken. Rather, as someone whole, someone who has walked through fire and still breathes like the wind, cool and compassionate. Sometimes, she'll sit in silence with her hands folded, her eyes soft, her lips closed. And inside her, memories may rise. Memories of betrayal, abandonment, loneliness. But she will not speak of them, not because they don't hurt, but because she's already made peace with them in her own way. A Zen master once said, "Let silence be the temple where your pain is purified." And so, she sits in that temple day after day. Her prayers are not words, but actions. Her faith is not loud, but steady. She keeps going, always forward, always inward. What she withholds is not a burden she wants to keep, but a choice she makes out of love. She believes some pain should not be passed on. Some wounds must not become weapons. So she absorbs, transforms, and releases, often without anyone noticing. A man may wonder, why didn't she tell me? But he does not understand that sharing pain is not always a relief for her. Sometimes speaking of sorrow reopens it. Sometimes putting pain into words makes it heavier. So she chooses the quiet path. Not weakly, but wisely. There are days she wants to scream, but instead, she sings lullabies. There are days she wants to collapse, but instead she stands. Not because she must, but because she chooses to be the shelter for others, even when she needs shelter herself. Her pain has made her tender. It has made her fierce. It has made her understand the suffering of others. When someone else is in pain, she sees it instantly because she recognizes it. And without words, she comforts them because she knows the language of unspoken wounds. In her world, being strong does not mean never feeling pain. It means carrying pain with grace. It means smiling without denying sorrow. It means offering love without expecting it back. This is the sacred pain she endures and the sacred strength she hides. When the Buddha spoke of the Four Noble Truths, the first was dukkha, suffering exists. She knows this truth intimately. But instead of resisting it, she invites it in, listens to it, and allows it to teach her. And from it, she grows, not into bitterness, but into stillness. So if a man truly wishes to know her, he must not only listen to her words, but also her silences. He must learn to read the spaces between her sighs. He must understand that what she doesn't say often matters more than what she does. She is not silent because she has nothing to say. She is silent because she has learned that not all truths are ready to be heard. Not all pain needs to be displayed. Some of it is sacred. Some of it is hers alone. And that, too, is a kind of wisdom. Her pain, though hidden, is not wasted. It becomes the soil from which compassion blooms. It becomes the depth in her gaze, the patience in her voice, the softness in her hands. She has made peace with her silence, and through it, she teaches. And so, as the journey continues, know this. Behind every quiet woman is a heart that has broken and rebuilt itself many times. She is not a mystery to be solved. She is a truth to be honored. And the pain she doesn't share, that is the part of her story that shaped the light she now carries. A woman does not speak everything she knows, not because she is afraid of words, but because she has seen that some words lose their truth when they're said too soon or to the wrong ears. In the teachings of the Buddha, there is great value placed on silence, not the silence of suppression, but the silence of wisdom. She holds back not from weakness, but from an understanding. She knows that some truths must ripen, like fruit on a tree. If spoken too early, they sour. If kept too long, they rot. But when allowed to rest in stillness, they become medicine. This is the silence of a spiritually awake woman. The Buddha once said that right speech is speech that is true, beneficial, and timely. Women have inherited this teaching deeply, sometimes without realizing it. They do not always rush to speak. They test the moment. They measure the space between the breath. They sense whether the ground is ready to receive the seed of truth. A man might wonder why she doesn't share what she's thinking. He may ask again and again, "What's wrong? Tell me." But she remains quiet. It's not that she doesn't trust him. It's that she is trying to protect something sacred inside herself. Her silence is not a wall. It is a temple. And not every visitor is ready to enter. Women carry an inner space, something Buddhists call shunyata, the void that is not empty, but full of potential. In that space, thoughts turn to clarity. Emotions soften into understanding. Desires dissolve into peace. And in this space, she keeps the things that matter most. Not because she is hiding, but because she is waiting for the right moment of awakening. She knows that not every listener can hear from the depth she feels. If she speaks too plainly, her words may be misunderstood. If she opens too quickly, she may be judged, interrupted, or dismissed. So she chooses silence. She chooses to protect that inner boundary, not out of fear, but out of deep spiritual discipline. Sometimes her silence is her way of watching, observing how others behave, what they assume, what they expect. She watches how men handle truth. Do they respect it? Or do they try to fix it, control it, or ignore it? Until she knows the answer, she guards her inner space. In the Dhammapada, it is written, "Better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace." Women live by this. Their few words are often words that matter. And their many silences, they are not empty. They are filled with knowing. She has learned through experience that not every pain needs to be spoken to be healed. Not every joy must be shared to be real. There's a kind of healing that happens only in silence, a kind of growth that only happens in darkness. Like the lotus that rises from the mud, her truths rise from stillness. To some men, this may seem like distance, but to a mindful man, it is a gift. Because when a woman holds silence, she is practicing patience. She is preserving truth. She is guarding her dignity. And in doing so, she is living the middle way, neither indulging in noise nor denying expression, but walking the quiet path of insight. A woman does not always say when she's been hurt. She may smile. She may keep doing what is expected. But inside, she steps back, not out of revenge, but to maintain her own balance. Her spiritual boundary is not a line drawn in anger, but a gentle step inward to protect her peace. She may not tell a man when he has disappointed her, not right away. She lets time unfold. She watches whether the man sees it himself, whether he carries the awareness, whether he too walks the path of mindfulness. If he does, perhaps one day she will speak. If he does not, her silence will become her answer. There are times she wants to speak, but chooses not to. Not because she's weak, but because she knows that her words will be used against her. She knows that some truths are too fragile to survive judgment. So she stores them inside and meditates upon them until they transform into wisdom. In Buddhism, this is the heart of upekkha, equanimity, the calm ability to witness without reaction. A woman who practices this may appear quiet, but she is fully awake. She feels everything, but she does not become everything she feels. A man may never know all that she carries, the things she forgives without telling, the burdens she lifts silently, the hopes she lets go of without blaming. Her strength is not loud, is not demanding, is not explained. It simply is. Her spiritual boundary is not just for herself. It is for the relationship too, because when she guards her space, she guards the space between them. She prevents harm. She prevents chaos. She creates the possibility for harmony to grow, slowly, mindfully, like a bonsai tree tended with care. She may appear mysterious, but mystery is not deception. It is depth, the kind of depth that comes from self-awareness, from restraint, from knowing that not all truths need to be told at once. Some truths, like seeds, must be planted in silence and watered with time. If a man truly listens, not just with ears, but with heart, he may begin to hear her silence. And when he hears it, truly hears it, she may begin to speak. Not with resistance, not with caution, but with freedom. Because her spiritual boundary is not a prison. It is a sanctuary. Even in the Buddha's own journey, there were truths he realized but could not immediately share. He waited. He observed. He tested his listeners. A wise woman does the same. She waits until the listener is ready. She waits until the moment is true. So the next time she is quiet, do not be afraid. Do not feel rejected. Sit with her. Breathe with her. Let her silence be your teacher too, because within it lies a lesson not found in books, not shouted from rooftops, but whispered gently by the soul. She is not hiding from him. She is protecting the sacred. And if he walks gently, mindfully, respectfully, he may be invited in. That is why women protect their silence. Not to punish, not to manipulate, but to honor the path of inner truth. A path the Buddha himself walked, with fewer words and deeper wisdom. She sits quietly, watching, listening, and observing. The world speaks loudly around her, but her silence is not weakness. It is power. A power shaped by patience, understanding, and restraint. A woman may not always speak about the things that disturb her, but her stillness speaks more deeply than words ever could. In Buddhism, there is a saying, silence is an answer too. Many men misunderstand this. They think if she is not voicing her complaints, then all is well. But silence is rarely emptiness. It is often the space where her strength rests, where her values breathe, where her boundaries are drawn. A wise man begins to understand that when a woman chooses not to react, she is not giving up. She is, in fact, rising above. This is restraint, not out of fear or powerlessness, but from clarity and compassion. She has learned through experience that words, once spoken in anger or confusion, cannot be taken back. And so, she chooses when and how to speak, and sometimes not to speak at all. This discipline of silence can confuse the unwise. In a noisy world, where reaction is often mistaken for strength, her refusal to engage seems strange. But Buddhism teaches that a still lake reflects more clearly than a stirred one. In the same way, her quiet mind reflects deeper truths. There are many things she notices, feels, and even suffers through, but she may never mention them. Not because she is hiding, but because she has seen the nature of attachment. She knows that clinging to pain or dragging others into emotional chaos brings suffering. Her restraint, therefore, is not a wall. It is a path. She may feel disappointment, but she transforms it within. She may see disrespect, but chooses dignity instead of confrontation. She may feel unheard, but speaks through her actions. And this ability to hold back, to not lash out, to not seek validation, is a form of wisdom cultivated over time. The Buddha once said, "Better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace." She lives by this. Her silence is not hollow. It is full of reflection, compassion, and quiet truth. She is not silent because she cannot speak, but because she has understood the value of what is worth speaking. Men often seek clarity through directness, but women often communicate in layers, gestures, tones, pauses, expressions. And when she chooses silence, it can be the clearest signal of all. It may be telling you that she has said enough, or that she no longer needs to prove anything. Some truths she guards not out of secrecy, but out of love. She knows that certain thoughts, when spoken, may only cause harm or misunderstanding. So she carries them quietly, like sacred seeds that she tends to in private. Her restraint is an offering, an act of emotional responsibility. She may sense imbalance in a relationship, but instead of reacting instantly, she watches. She gives space. She reflects, not because she is unsure, but because she wants to respond, not react. And this pause, this silence, is where her spiritual power lies. Sometimes she steps back, not to give up, but to allow others to step into their own awareness. Her silence becomes a mirror, reflecting a man's own behaviors, his own forgetfulness. And in this space, real growth is possible for both. In Buddhist teachings, the highest form of compassion is not always loud or dramatic. It is often quiet, gentle, and almost invisible. When a woman remains calm in the face of disrespect, when she chooses to walk away rather than argue, when she forgives without speaking of it, this is not weakness. It is her practice. She has realized something profound. Not every thought must be voiced. Not every emotion must be shared. Not every injustice must be confronted head-on. She knows where her peace lies, and she protects it with care. To the untrained eye, Her restraint may look like silence, but to the wise, it is thunder wrapped in grace. Her ability to hold her ground with softness, to maintain her dignity without raising her voice, is the mark of true inner mastery. There are moments when she chooses to say nothing, not because she has nothing to say, but because she has already said it in 100 ways before. And now, silence is the clearest message she can offer. It is not a barrier. It is an invitation to listen with deeper ears. A man who truly wishes to understand her must not only hear her words, but learn to read her silences. Because in those spaces between conversations, in the glances and the pauses in the calm after a storm, there's a whole world she is showing him. Restraint, in the Buddhist sense, is not suppression. It is direction. It is choosing the right time, the right way, the right energy. She has learned that every moment of restraint is a moment of self-respect. And every time she holds her peace, she is strengthening the foundation of her spirit. Sometimes she is not silent because she is peaceful, but because she is protecting her peace. She has faced chaos and now chooses simplicity. She has felt hurt and now chooses healing. She has heard empty promises and now listens only to action. She does not need to share everything she knows or everything she feels to be complete. She is whole as she is. Her restraint is not withholding, it is wisdom. A sacred shield she has built through many quiet trials. The lesson is this: if you truly wish to know what she holds inside, you must earn her trust through presence, patience, and purity of intention. Because only then will she feel safe enough to unfold what she has long kept protected, not out of fear, but out of understanding. Her silence is not a distance, it is an offering, an invitation to meet her in that sacred space of mutual awareness. And when that space is honored, what blooms from her is not just words, but truth, raw and beautiful, waiting to be received. She sat quietly under the Bodhi tree, not because she had nothing to say, but because she knew the value of silence. A woman does not always need words to speak her truth. Sometimes the deepest truths she holds are spoken through the eyes, through a pause, through a breath. And if a man learns to listen, not just with his ears but with his whole being, he may begin to understand the stories hidden in the spaces she never fills with sound. Throughout this journey, we have uncovered 7 truths women often do not share with men. Each truth was wrapped in silence, protected by centuries of emotion, fear, love, and wisdom. And now, as we arrive at the final step of our path, the lesson becomes clear. It is not always about uncovering what is hidden, but learning how to respect the quiet mystery that surrounds it. A Zen master once said, "A flower does not open itself when you pull its petals. It opens when the sun kisses it with warmth." In the same way, the truths that women do not say are not meant to be forced into the open. They are meant to be understood with patience, compassion, and presence. What she holds within is not a secret to be solved, but a trust to be honored. Men often ask, why doesn't she just tell me what she feels? But this question itself comes from a mind that wishes for simplicity in a space that is inherently complex. Feelings, for many women, are not linear. They are waves, they are storms, they are stillness. She may not share because she herself is still understanding what she feels. Or perhaps she knows that what she says may not be received with the sensitivity it deserves. The final unveiling is not about revelation. It is about transformation, the transformation of the listener. A man must become still enough to feel, soft enough to hold, and wise enough to wait. Then he no longer asks, why didn't she tell me? Instead, he feels the truth behind her silence. Buddha taught that speech is precious. It must pass through 3 gates. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? For many women, what they do not say fails one of these gates. Not because it is unworthy, but because it may not find its rightful place in the heart of the one listening. So they choose silence, not as weakness, but as strength, not as fear, but as wisdom. A woman may not tell a man about the pain she carries because she has learned that some pain must be walked with, not explained. She may not speak of her fears because naming them might make them grow. She may not share her desires because she has watched them be dismissed too often. So instead, she becomes a keeper of sacred truths, not out of distance, but out of depth. The man who truly wishes to understand her must be willing to step beyond the surface. He must recognize that presence is more powerful than interrogation. That love is quieter than words. That support is felt, not just spoken. And most importantly, that the things she does not share are not walls. They are temples. And only those who approach with reverence may enter. Zen teaches that truth is not always in what is said, but often in what is left unsaid. The sigh after a long day, the way her hands hold a cup of tea, the stillness in her eyes when she stares at the sky. These are all scriptures if one learns how to read them. The man who can sit in silence with her without needing to fix, explain, or question, that man has entered a deeper state of understanding. There is beauty in not knowing everything. There is peace in not having all the answers. A woman's heart is not a puzzle to be solved, but a garden to be tended. She may never tell you everything, not because she does not trust you, but because she trusts the wisdom of the unspoken. She knows some truths bloom only in solitude. Many times, men believe intimacy means full access. But real intimacy lies in respect, in knowing that even in closeness, boundaries must be honored, that even in love, there is space, and that space is sacred. Women are often guardians of this sacred space. They do not share everything not because they wish to hide, but because they have been shaped by centuries of being unheard. So now, they speak in a language that is not always verbal. And so, this is the final lesson, not only for men, but for all of us. Do not demand to hear what another is not ready to share. Do not push open the doors they have quietly closed. Instead, sit beside them. Let your presence be the key that opens hearts, not your insistence. Let your patience be the path that leads to their truth. A man who listens deeply, without judgment, becomes a mirror where a woman sees herself clearly. Not distorted by expectation, not silenced by fear, but reflected in love. That is all she truly desires. Not someone to fix her, not someone to question her, but someone to understand her silence without making her feel wrong for it. In the stillness of a mountain temple, one does not hear the monks speak often. And yet, the teachings are everywhere, in the wind, in the bell, in the footsteps on stone. In the same way, the deepest truths of a woman are not always heard through her voice. They are in her actions, her silence, her care, and her strength. Buddha said, "The tongue, like a sharp knife, kills without drawing blood." Women have long known this. That is why they are careful with what they share. They protect themselves not with walls, but with awareness. And the wise man does not take offense at what is not said. Instead, he becomes grateful for what is offered and bows in reverence to what is withheld. In the end, let us not seek to make women speak more. Let us instead become worthy of hearing them when they do. Let us not dig into their silence, but dwell beside it. For in that silence lies the voice of compassion, of generations, of spiritual power. To all the men who wish to know the 7 things women do not share, remember, what is most sacred is not what you can extract, but what you can receive when it is freely given. You do not own her story. You are invited to witness it, if you are gentle enough to stay. This journey was not just about women. It was about us all, learning how to hold space, how to be soft in a hard world, how to value what is not easily seen. If we walk forward with that wisdom, then we carry the true teaching of Buddhism to reduce suffering, to deepen compassion, and to live with awareness. Thank you for walking this path with us. This has been Wisdom Writings. If this journey moved you, like the video, share it with those you care about, and let your thoughts flow in the comments. And remember to subscribe for more truth, more simplicity, and more peace. The silence ends here, not because there's nothing left to say, but because now you are ready to hear the rest on your own.